who pulled up for a catch-up. It's really here from 947 afternoons. And if you're here, it means you've got taste. Go ahead, enjoy the moment you missed. But don't ghost me. Weekdays, 12 to 3 p.m. on 947. I'm loud and way more fun in real time. And yeah, there's more audio magic waiting for you right here on Prime Media Plus.
Yeah, it is. Hashtag MSW Marawa Sports Worldwide coming through live from Cape Town. I won't even say it's in the studio because we are not in the studio. We are where there was a conference early on, and one of the main speakers in that conference was Bafana Bafana head coach Hugo Broos together with Spiwe Shabalala. So staying with us here on the production line is Coach Hugo Broos. So it's not every day or every moment that we get to speak to the national team coach. So today is a very special one. We'll dive straight into it. Otherwise, any other reaction, please feel free. Treat it as a Monday. Yes, it's a Tuesday because of all the holidays. So we will bounce in and out your observations from the weekend and maybe just your expectations. You know, wishing Coach Hugo Broos everything of the best before heading off to the World Cup itself. It's exactly 44 days to go before the FIFA World Cup in Mexico for that opening match between South Africa and Mexico. It is hashtag MSW Marawa Sports Worldwide, proudly brought to you by Hollywood Bets.
Let's go! The moments you remember. The games you can't forget. Marawa Sports Worldwide on 947, Boom FM and Rise FM. Powered by Hollywood Bets.
He's in a league of his own.
Marawa Sports Worldwide.
And it goes through to the boundary.
This is where sport breaks, bends, and gets told straight.
All of us there have our smallanyana skeletons.
Hashtag MSW on 947, Boom FM, Rise FM, and Sowetan Live.
So tonight, the spotlight blazes. You know, the stakes kind of weigh very, very heavy, and the dream of a nation closes and edges closer together for reality to step forward. From doubt to belief, I mean, from rebuilding to rising again, Bafana Bafana's journey has been a bit of a roller coaster of resilience. You know, nights that demanded courage. There have been victories as well that reignited pride, and there have been moments that tested resolve. But at the center stands a man who walked into the storm. I mean, he chose to fight right through it. I mean, a seasoned tactician, forged in pressure, a leader who steadied the ship and also dared to dream even bigger. Tonight's an exclusive conversation. We sit down with Bafana Bafana's head coach, Hugo Broos. He reflects on the highs and the setbacks and the turning points that have shaped his team's identity. So the road now to the FIFA World Cup is intensifying. I mean, we look ahead with expectation. And as a nation, there's always a sense of belief, a belief that we can do well. You know, there's a weight of a nation's hope. From the meticulous preparation to marginal gains, also tactical vision to strategic squad decisions off the pitch, including securing, you know, flights to keep the squad primed and focused. You know, it's more than just an interview. I mean, it's a window into the mind of a man that's steering South Africa towards destiny. Coach Hugo Broos, thank you so much for your time. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Just your general feeling now. I mean, I'm counting down 44 days to the World Cup itself. Does it mean anything to you? If we had to have the World Cup next week, how would you react?
If it should be next week, it should be different.
Yeah.
Now I'm rather calm. You're occupied with preparation for the World Cup. There are some meetings. You have to arrange some things. So you have a lot of work. But yeah, it's still far away. Even it's only 44 days.
When you've got that latitude, I mean, we were talking off air, and you were saying you unfortunately won't be heading back to Belgium, back to home. So you in South Africa now for the long haul until you board that flight and go to Mexico. What are the primary focus areas for you in that time, in that build-up to leaving South Africa for the World Cup?
Yeah, first of all, scouting the opponents. So looking at the games of Mexico, of South Korea, and of Czechia. This is the first thing to do, and see what we have to do when we play against them, having already an analysis of the opponents. Then preparing, the preparation the weeks before our first game. We are now trying to have some friendly games. So normally we should play against Nicaragua the 29th of next month, and then maybe we can have another game in Mexico, in Pachuca, in our base camp against Puerto Rico, maybe. So that's we are occupied with now, to negotiations and see if everything is okay, and then starting to make the trainings program. See what we will do, when we will do it, and certainly yes, we have to take in account that we have that high altitude camp. So we need to start that camp the 1st of June. So we need to be in Pachuca on the 31st of May. And then, the first days it will be difficult to train at 100% because of the altitude. So that is what we will do now in the next week, making that program together with the physical coach and with Helman, the assistant, and see that everything is done on the 25th when the players will be released by the clubs.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that has to do with logistics. We won't touch on that because nothing's been confirmed as yet. But all you're saying from a coaching perspective is your desire to be in Pachuca on the 31st of May.
Yeah.
And then start the program from the 1st of June.
So that we can start on the 1st.
Yeah.
If we should go on the 31st, that is, you are maybe only the 1st in Mexico. So that's a day you lose because you arrive. And then the first days it will be also not a normal training, so maybe you can start training on the 4th or the 5th. This is too short to the game, so that's why I really wanted to be the 31st at the latest in Pachuca, so that we can start the 1st.
Because that whole acclimatization is important for the players. It's a different part of the world, time difference. I mean, we're going to be absorbing the World Cup here in South Africa at times where we should be sleeping as well. So for you, your job is that much more difficult, and obviously the stage will be that much more bigger. It's the opening game.
That makes the preparation a little bit complicated, because if you shouldn't need a high altitude camp, for example, okay, you can stay here till the 5th or the 6th even. Play a game on the 4th of June, take the flight, and then play the 11th. But now for this high altitude camp, you need 10 days. It's a rule, a medical rule, 10 days. Otherwise, you have a problem. Plus, you have the jet lag of 8 hours. That means also 8 days. So you can do the two things together. When you arrive on the 31st, then you have more than 8 days for the jet lag, and you have your days for the high altitude adaptation.
Because then I think what people should also remember is that unlike previous World Cups, you then get to travel. So your match day destination is not the same as match day 2 destination. You get to go now to the Americas.
Yeah. First day is in Mexico City. So we are with Pachuca 80 kilometers from Mexico City. So 2 days before we go to Mexico City. There is no problem of altitude. It's the same thing. Yeah. Then after the game, we go back to base camp. Then 2 days before the game against Czechia in Atlanta. So we have to fly 2 hours. Then we have to come back to base camp. And then Monterrey is only an hour, 45 minutes, our flight. So 2 days before the game, we go to Monterrey.
Now, given that, it's obviously a new World Cup. It's across 3 different countries. It's, plastered all over the place, 48 nations. It's 104 games. It's going to be unique in many different ways. There'll be water breaks. There'll be all the things that we saw during the FIFA Club World Cup for you. So when it comes to coaching and the rhythm, are those things that destroy the rhythm of your team, or they become a non-entity at the end?
No, not really. What the rules will be, like for example the drinks and so on. Yeah. That happens sometimes also here or in other countries when it's too hot. After 20 minutes that we have a drink and then we go on. So that doesn't really influence the rhythm of the game. Certainly not. I'm a little bit more afraid about the other rules because there will be some changes also. And then for me, the most important thing is not that the rules are changing, because there are some rules that has to be changed.
Sure.
But will they be used by the referees? That is always, they start always with something, and 2 games later, it's done.
Yeah.
So they talk also about the goalkeeper, not more than, 8 seconds. And after 5 seconds, it will be a sign. And how will that happen in the tournament? And that can be a reason of frustration for players or for coaches on that moment when they don't apply the rules like they told it before.
Yeah, because even the 6-second rule with the goalkeepers, nobody was even applying that. You would see, goalkeepers holding on to the ball for the longest time.
No, and even on AFCON, it was not that we said, hey, where is the rule? So I'm curious. I'm really curious to see what they will do on the World Cup now, and if they really will apply the rule like they said, 6 seconds up the corner for the opponent. We will see.
Sure. It's a lot to take in, but when you look at rules and applications and then you have to tell the players what to look out for, it shouldn't change the game. We've seen VAR, their decisions who've taken 6 minutes and back and forth.
But for example, handsball in the 60 meters. That it's so complicated.
Yeah.
We had a meeting before AFCON started with the people of CAF, and they explained it. And after the meeting, I went to the lady and I said, how is a referee decide that in 1 second? Because it depends of, is he going to the goal when his last defender make a foul, make a tackle, foul. Is it red? No, it's not red because he's not going direction to the goal. Handsball. You showed the handsball against Egypt.
Yeah.
Then they tell me after the game, he said, yeah, what? I said, no, it was a supporting arm. What? Come on. Then you go to the ball, you do a sliding, and you put your hands on the ground. It's a supporting arm.
Yeah.
But you do already a movement to the ball with your supporting arm. So it's so complicated sometimes. And the only thing I think, and the rule that will always be applied or can be applied is the moment your arms are not one body with your body.
Yeah.
When it's with your when you see one body, it's no handsball. Once your arm is away from your body and you get it on it's handsball, and that's it. But now it's sometimes so complicated.
I was about to say it gets complicated because there was a stage, when IFAB changed their rules and they were talking about, is it a ball to hand or hand to ball? Then that complicates things even more. So what does a player do when you're trying to go up for a header?
Yeah.
And you're using that arm as elevation and for whatever reason it misses you or takes a deflection and ends up hitting your hand, then what do you call that? Well, sometimes they say accidental, it wasn't intentional. Is it intentional? When you start to use those words, it even complicates everything.
The comment is then, yes, I understand it, and they have to change the rules in some things, that they want to clean football. And that's something.
Yeah.
Because the way, for example, goalkeepers just sitting on the ground, an injury. What injury? The ball was at the other side, and suddenly you see a goalkeeper sitting on the ground, injured. And in most of the time, it is because they had a sign from the bench because the coach wanted to explain something.
Yeah.
Come on, that breaks sometimes the rhythm of a team who's dominating. So I understand that those things they want to change, but don't make it too complicated.
Because football is a simple game.
Yeah.
It's just been complicated
it was a simple game.
at some point.
It was a simple game.
All right, when we come back from the break, our conversation with Coach Hugo Broos. I mean, we'll take it to a personal level, though. I mean, we'll highlight on the journey that the coach has had, his time at Bafana Bafana so far, what have been those defining moments, the opportunities that he's been able to take our national team to the heights. I mean, they've shaped Bafana Bafana to something really that is a world-class team. I mean, we were talking off air about Bafana Bafana at some point being in the region of 16th in the world and number 1 on the African continent. You know, are those things still attainable or not? We'll take your calls. We'll take your WhatsApp voice notes. Our conversation with Coach Hugo Broos here in Cape Town.
#MSW live now on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live at the same time. #MSW. Previously on Marawa Sports Worldwide.
Edward Majansmudale here with me in studio, my co-host for today.
With the derby, they'll only remember you got derby. You can play against Boobi and score 4 goals.
No one will remember.
No one will remember, but derby, because there's Robert Marawa who doesn't even attend games, but got derby, he'll want to go there. Robert Marawa who doesn't attend games, he'll only remember you, Kagibel. Every time when he talks, he says, you, Robert, the best. Robert, because of the derby.
That one game.
That one
changes
game.
your life, that thing,
It changes everything. And remember, derby, Majez can really play for this team. Or Majez, I must go. Understand?
Yeah.
So, Kiki Judgment Day. That's why we wait for Boso Kiba.
#MSW. #MSW.
Good evening, Rob, and all the listeners. This is Joel from Watford in Benoni. Rob, I just want to wish the coach Hugo Broos all the best as they are getting prepared for the World Cup. To me, Hugo Broos is one of the best coaches that has coached Bafana Bafana, and I like his character because despite all the criticisms that he received from us, he never retaliated anything, but he kept his head high and focused on his job, and he organized a very good, strong team that we are all admiring. He managed to bring the confidence of the players, and then he also managed to bring the confidence of the supporters into the team. We can all see this in the way the people, they go to the stadium to watch the games that Bafana Bafana is playing. Thank you so much. Great show.
All right, thank you so much for that message directed at head coach Hugo Broos, Bafana Bafana's head coach. You listen to that voice note and they say, what is it that kept you believing, even at times when, you know, us South Africans didn't believe in the direction of the national team?
The question I always asked me was why South Africa is not a dominating country in Africa. When you see the infrastructure of this country, when you see the possibilities of the opportunities that this country has, how is it possible then that for years there were not every African qualified? Every World Cup as an African country is difficult. Being qualified for World Cup for an African country is difficult. But for African, South Africa has to be a country, every African, they have to be there. And that didn't happen in the past. So what was it? And that was for me, when I came here, I had a plan, and I tried, I kept the plan till the end, till the results were there, because I knew that was the way you had to do it. And the people now, I'm very, very happy that we got so much support of the supporters. We played in the first games, I was a coach, we played for 2,000 men. The first games was COVID, okay, nobody, but then 2,000, 5,000 people for an international game of the national team. So we had to win also the support and those were things I told to the players. And it has to be an honor to play for your country. It is to be an honor to wear that jersey. Yeah. So come on, guys, and yeah, that suddenly things were there, what I always wanted. And I'm sure of it, that in this country there is more to do.
Yeah.
There is more to do, but you need to have the opportunities and the possibilities to do it.
Because now we see you have a game against Panama, you go down to Durban, so it's away from Johannesburg, which has been the center of football. It's full stadium.
Yeah.
Then you move with the team to here, to Cape Town, and again, full stadium.
Yeah.
What did that say to you about that particular journey of the national team?
I said years ago, because they said, the people, the people, that. I said, listen, everything what happens on that green surface, that decide everything. That decide that people were coming because, they want to see a winning team. If you're going to see to a team that lose or that don't qualify, they say, we don't go anymore. So, and I saw a little bit the same evolution in my country. In 2006, Belgium was not qualified for World Cup and not qualified for European Cup, Championship. And they start thinking, what can we do? And people didn't go either and see, but now the stadiums are full again in Belgium, and again for many years already. And we see the same thing here. You go to a team who you believe in. And when do you believe in a team? When that team wins. And it's also important for sponsoring also. There is nobody interested to sponsor a team who is not going to big tournaments or losing games. No, everything is on the green surface.
Yeah.
That's the point.
It means you've been able to identify the right players and stick to those players. Because once you then tempered too much, Coach, with the trusted players you have, then there is no direction. So what we observe now is that there is direction. The players that you gave the task at Ivory Coast are the players that still put their hands up, which were in the dominant factor, the Sundowns players. And then we saw a shift, now in Morocco with the Pirates players. So we're not surprised when we see Pirates, their position on the log versus where Sundowns are. So those are the two main competitive teams in South Africa right now. So which says what, though, about those opportunities that you gave to those players who are now number 1 and number 2 in the log?
I think everything started 4 years ago because I gave opportunities to players who were not Sundowns players, who were not Pirate players or Chiefs players. I took players from Cape Town, I took players from Barocca, I took players, and everybody was angry because what is he doing with those players?
Yeah.
I didn't call some players that maybe had to be in the team from Sundowns or for Pirates. That some of them, those had to be in the team. No, I didn't call them because I had a plan. And the main thing of this plan was to build a team. And you need players who are hungry. They are motivated. And with all the players, older, 29, 28, 29, 30, some of those players, they won everything already.
Yeah.
And there's no that motivation anymore. So little by little, you start building. But it was for 1 year before we had the right players.
Yeah.
And for every position, we had a profile. We want that kind of player. Everything, looking to modern football. You can't. A South African player, technically, a South African player is good. There is no problem.
As a standard.
There's a standard.
Yeah.
But 20 years ago, when you were a technical player, you were a good player. A very good player. Now it's finished. Now you are a good player. But if you want to play on the highest level, you need power, you need physique, you need much more things than only that technique. And that was something also we looked at. Because in the beginning we were small players. South Africans is not a big race.
Yeah.
They are small people. So we were looking after guys of 185. We played against Ivory Coast, the smallest. Nigeria for the qualification. The smallest guy on the pitch was 183, the smallest. So, football is evaluated also on that. You need big guys. And 20 years or 30 years ago, big guys couldn't run. They were
immobile.
But now they are athletes. When you see those guys, 185, they make a sprint of 100 meters in 12 seconds or 30. So football is evaluated in that, also on physical side. So this is something also we looked at for the players when we search. We need for that. That needs a big guy, because central defender has to be a big guy, or somebody who's good with the head, or somebody talented like Mbokazi. He's not the biggest, but I was
going to say, I mean, he's a muscular chap, but he also runs the athleticism in him. Then gets him to provide the goals. I mean, you've seen the goals he scored now in Chicago as well, obviously with Bafana Bafana.
Sure.
That's versatility.
Sure. But you see, this is a young guy. He has the power. And this is what you need in modern football. Technique is not enough. It's not enough.
So, as you dig deeper now, and I know that you were at the Soweto Derby on Sunday, you were watching it at the stadium, did you get a sense that there were a couple of players there that were sending a message to you to say, Coach, please see me or remember me when you start scribbling down the names of the players that you're going to select?
Well, it's not only that game of Sunday. So, as you know, we are going to nearly every week we are going to the games. So we have players on our list, sometimes new players said, this one is not bad. Okay, but then we go see 2-3 times again to see, because you can play one good game and then 4 games. So you need to see more than one game. So the players I saw on Sunday were players that we know. The problem will be that you can only go with 25 players to the World Cup. So and that people has to understand when you make your selection. I also sometimes have, what am I going to do? This one or this one? Take this one. For some reasons. It can be because he's taller, because he is better. I don't know. So they have to understand that also I have to do choices. But when I make my selection, there are always people say, why not this one, why not this one? And then I want to ask them, because they don't do it to me, they write it. But then I want to ask them, okay. I give a stupid example now. Not Williams, but Peterson. Okay, then you have to put out Williams, huh? So for them it's easy to say, this one has to. Okay.
But who are you removing? Is the question.
The question is then for them, who will you remove then? And therefore it's don't think that it's easy for us. I say us because Elman is always there. Okay, we start keepers. That's normally not a problem, a real problem.
Is that not a problem though? Because I saw like a Brandon Peterson almost saying to you, Coach, that listen, don't forget me. I know you tinkered with the goalkeeping in the game against Panama here in Cape Town, and you had to take a decision. Whether you consider 2 goals with him is besides the point, but we needed to, as South Africans, to see him play. You needed to see him play in front of a packed stadium. So those are the decisions.
But okay, I think everyone knows if Peterson should not be injured, or he was operated, I think, appendix.
Before the previous start.
He had been with us in March. But I couldn't call him up because he was in hospital.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's why we're talking about some of those tough decisions that you have to take. And as we have our conversation with Coach Hugo Broos, let me just play a couple of voice notes.
Hi, Rob. This is Chomiati from Edenville. Greetings to you and greetings to Coach Hugo Broos. Rob, I want to find out from Coach Broos, what keeps him going? He stands. He doesn't fall into the trap of the media. Call such a player, call such a player. He's consistent in his selection criteria. What is it that he looks at, and why is he so strict to his policy and work ethic that he doesn't bow down to pressure of the media? Thanks, Rob.
I think we kind of answered that, because you don't bow down to the media, wherever you get steered. Why not this one? Coach, you haven't seen this one. We can show you video clips of X-player. You've kept firmly independent decisions, regardless of what the media said. How have you managed that?
For me, it's not a problem. Even sometimes I'm angry when I see the reactions of some people. But okay, that is also part of the job, because you have to make choices.
Sure.
But at the other side, I think if you listen to the media, that you change every time you are together with the national team. Because every time there will be people who say, why this one? It has to be better with this one. So, and then it's a mess. Then it's a mess. I think it's also important to players that they feel that you have confidence in them, even when it's not really a good game or whatever. We had a bad AFCON. You have to be honest, because there was a bad AFCON. So if I now start to change the players, this is not the way you have to work. Because if that doesn't succeed, you are in very big trouble. But still I have the confidence in my players like I had it from the beginning. And you need a certain number of players who always are there. And the rest is a question of, are they in shape or not? Are they injured or not? But if you change every moment, every second, not this one, not this one, you don't succeed.
Let me go back to what you've just said now about the AFCON not being a very good AFCON. Would you say you've been able to, with your technical team, identify the problems that caused the AFCON to go that way in Morocco, and areas that needed to be brushed up, identified and improved post that AFCON? Do you think that you've been able to be on top of those issues?
The analysis is done a week after AFCON in January. So we know the reasons why. We know it. And this is not something that we can't reinstall.
But what is the primary one? If I had to ask you a straightforward question and say, what is that one primary issue that you would say was the big difference between AFCON Cote d'Ivoire and AFCON Morocco?
I talk always of the DNA of the team.
Yeah.
The DNA was not there. And in a way, you can understand it, because I felt it a few days or a week after we qualified for World Cup. Decompression. Don't forget that in 2 years, this team qualified for Ivory Coast, qualified for Morocco, qualified for World Cup. In 2 years. And this was something, the main goal was going to the World Cup.
Yeah.
Because it was so long ago and blah, blah, blah. So everyone was focused on that World Cup without losing the 2 AFCONs before. So, but the moment that was in October, we were qualified for the World Cup. It was, yes, we are there. And I think that had played a role afterwards. We were not focused enough. We were not mentally ready enough. We were not quality ready enough. The DNA was not there. What we saw in the games before, in the AFCON before, in the qualifiers for World Cup, that was a fantastic team. And I think the main reason of that was the decompression of, yes, we are there.
We're at the World Cup,
Yeah.
but then you're forgetting that there's also big match temperament that has to be applied for an AFCON.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the players also fear because the AFCON was a December-January tournament, and then further down the line is the World Cup. So if you incur major injury, then people start saying, "Oh, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if that went through your
I
mind."
don't think that if it should be closer to each other, then I should say maybe there were some players who said, I can't be injured now because then I will not be on the World Cup. I don't think it's that. It's just,
Yeah. The relief of going to the World Cup.
And then you lose motivation for a part, and you lose what do you call it, sharpness. And that happened in AFCON in December.
All right, our conversation will take the final step and leap. As we come back from the break, though, Coach Hugo Broos, lots of your questions as well on the WhatsApp voice note, so keep sending those. An important one because, he's going to have that task, that very difficult task of putting forward to the nation the 25, what I call soldiers, that will be going to battle in Mexico.
#MSW live now on 947 Vuma FM, Rise FM, and Soweto Live at the same time. #MSW.
Heathrow.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mr. Marawa, good evening to you, sir. Good evening, Mr. Marawa, to all the shareholders. And good evening to Mr. Hugo Broos over there. I won't say much. I've just got one question for him, but all I would love to say to him as well is thank you, Mr. Hugo Broos. I mean, when you came in, we were a laughing stock on the African continent, but I mean, look at us now, a few years down the line. And thank you for believing in the local players, Thank you for putting the South African Premier League on the map because, I mean, you stood your ground with most of the local-based players when everybody had an opinion. And just my question to you, no matter what happens in the World Cup, are you still calling it a day to spend some time with your grandkids like you said, or you're going to, I don't know, man, stick around for 2 more years? Talk to me, Mr. Broos.
What did you say? I didn't understand.
No, that's fine. I'll explain. Coach, as you said, we just was listening here, and I think I laughed a little bit because it's something you addressed at the last press conference. So you're saying that have you changed your mind about your plans to retire after the World Cup?
No, they are not changed. I will stop, and it's not because of South Africa or just because of I'm 74. Since I was 36, I'm coach, so you can count, and you feel that there are some things of the job. You do it, but sometimes I have to push myself to do it. And when that happens, then you have to decide, you are at the end. And for me, it's I couldn't dream a nicer end of my career. It's going to the World Cup and then say, okay, guys, thank you very much. Now it's finished. The job of coach is done. The only thing I want is, if it's possible, to stay in football. But not anymore being occupied 24 hours and 24 hours, 7 on 7 days with football and arrange things and program things and whatever. This is the last sprint now. But I'm as motivated as 30 years ago to do it well. That is, I want to stop in beauty with a beautiful moment. And what is a beautiful moment? Passing the group stages in the World Cup.
We'll pass the group stages.
Yeah.
I believe South Africa can.
Surely, and on the draw, I was a little bit Mexico, the homeland. Then it was or Denmark or Czechia, so both are difficult. And then South Korea, I said, but more and more, I start believing that we can do something there. That we can, win points that give us a second round. I'm more and more convinced, and I will try to convince the player also. And I don't think I will have much work to do that, because I know the guys will come on the 25th of May motivated from head to toes. So there is something possible. We can make it very beautiful.
But it's a beautiful dream, and we would want to reward you towards your retirement with probably the best showing on an international platform.
Yeah, sure.
I think for both sides,
yeah, sure.
It's a win-win situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Let me go to Nati and Senton on the line. Nati, thank you so much for holding on. Thanks for your patience. Good evening.
Evening, Mr. Marawa. How are you?
I'm very good. Coach is here.
Good day, Mr. Broos.
Good evening.
How are you, sir?
Fine, thank you.
I'm okay. Coach, I'm going to be short. Thanks for what you did. First, for being able to stand your ground. When people say select this one, you didn't. Thank you for that. And for not handing over the caps to the players, making players to fight for those caps. But please, Coach, please, as we go to the World Cup, we need on-form players and experienced players. What about Tembi Kosi-Lodge? I think Europe will listen to the radio.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to that. I think you had somebody this morning over lunch who came to you and asked you that very same question.
First of all, I think he's has many supporters because it's already for months that people are talking about him. So, but people forget what Lodge did in the last 2-3 years. He was leaving Pirates. You leave a team not because you are a big star. He went to Sundowns, he left Sundowns. And I think he was happy that Roulani was in, Morocco, where he could go. And now, I'm honest, he plays good. But then we are coming to what we talked about a few minutes ago. If you take Lodge, tell me who doesn't have to go to the World Cup, knowing that Lodge is a player who plays behind the striker. Tell me. So it's a pity he's not there anymore.
Oh, Nati, yeah.
Yeah, I should ask him, okay, I take Lodge. I can't go with 26. Who has to go out then? And when I see that, then it's very difficult for me to take a player who was never with us and drop a player who was always with us. And therefore, again, as what you call it, a choice that you make is not always a sportive choice. It can also be, come on. Those guys are always with us. They didn't disappoint.
Yeah.
Why should I change that?
So the team dynamic is important.
Yeah. It's also important. I think Lodge was once with us. The qualification game for Afghan Ivory Coast in Morocco. And okay, you don't judge him on that, but he was playing good in Pirates that moment. It was very bad in the national team, and maybe that level is maybe a little bit too high for him also. I don't know, maybe, but again, for me, it's what we talk about is the dynamic of the team, and what we talked about a few minutes ago. You can't change every time because the player is playing good and putting someone else out who was always there.
Because if I'm not mistaken, you had a similar challenge when it came to somebody that I know you admire his play, which is Ikram Reyners.
Yeah.
But when Ikram was not playing at Sundowns, and he was starting the games on the bench and at times not even playing within the 90 minutes, then I would imagine that made your job that much more difficult to say you can't because there's no consistency in the selection of the player.
That's just, yeah. And about Ikram had a health problem.
Yeah.
So we couldn't call him for Afghan that moment. It's always a fact that players had to play. And sometimes I'm surprised to see players who doesn't play suddenly anymore. They are on the bench or they are not even on the bench, they are on the stands. And then I say, what happens? Now, give you an example. Magopa don't play anymore in Pirates. What is the reason?
So that makes it difficult then for you.
That makes my job difficult.
Because you've got to be consistent.
Yeah.
Because you've taken decisions
certainly
with other
when you
players.
go to the World Cup, when you take a player who didn't play for months, you have a problem.
Because he comes off the bench now at times, not always.
Okay, but for me it's a surprise not seeing him play.
Do you have these conversations, Coach, I know it frustrated you in the early days where there was no rapport with some of the PSL coaches. Do you have a conversation, for example, with the coach Wadu of Orlando Pirates, in dealing with a guy like Rele Mufokeng and how to utilize them? I mean, just the other day I was chatting to Coach Pete Simane and we're discussing whether he's a 10, is he a winger, where is he best suited? But both club and country now have aligned to playing him as a 10.
Last year, I think, had a conversation with the coach of Pirates.
Yeah.
So, and it was Pirates who invited me, I have to be honest.
Sure.
So we had in the afternoon, I think we were together 2 hours and talking about football, talking about players, so that helps. But you know that from the moment I was here, I tried to have all the PSL coaches together. And I never succeeded to do it because there was always PSL who, for one or another reason, I can maybe say sabotaged the meeting. I never saw the coaches. No.
That disappointed you, though?
Yeah, disappointed
Still
me.
does.
Yes. Yeah. But one day when you do it 4 times and it doesn't succeed, then I said, okay, sorry, now it's finished. I will not try the 5th or the 6th or the 7th time. No.
Yeah.
You have to respect. You need to have respect a little bit also. And yes, I decided then, okay, that is finished.
Hi, Mr. Marawa and the team. Hi, Coach. Coach, my question to you is, what determine your selection criteria to the players? Do you select the players based on their performance at their respective clubs? Or you select the players whom you think they will fit into your system? Or you select the players whom you trust? The reason why I'm asking this is that there are sometimes you select certain players who are not performing at their respective clubs, which sometimes tend to raise certain questions from a certain segment of the public on why you selected certain players. Those players, I mean, David and Pargood.
It's usually a very popular question to coaches. I mean, the selection criteria, I think you kind of explained it, is what you see, the regularity of how much they perform.
You know, it's different for a club as for a national team, because when you are a club coach, every day you see your players. For a national team, I think you need to have a spine of your team, and those players are always there. Williams, Mokoena, those are the spine of my team, so they are always there. Then you take the players who are in good shape, who are playing good. If they play good with us also, they stay with us. So you have already, let's say, 15, 16 players who will always be there.
Sure.
And then it depends of injuries, of out of shape, people that don't play because they are not playing good or because of tactical reasons or whatever. And then you have to take others. But, as I said, we have profile. So, and I think you can see that a little bit in the selections when there is not a player there is always another player with nearly the same profile. And that is because we wanted to play in a certain way.
To influence what you want out of a certain game.
We want to play in a certain way. We want and try it. It's not always succeeding, but we want to dominate the game. And we need for that kind of players. And we look for that kind of players. So that when they come, you know that you can use it in the system. So you don't have to change the system again. Or now we have, for example, a right back. Oh, he's not offensive. Yeah, then you have a problem. Because we have a very good offensive back with Colisso. So suddenly you're going to put someone who's not offensive, who stays in position.
How are you going to create those chances? Yeah.
Then you create doubts in the team. So that's a little bit in short how we select players.
Coach, we are flat out of time. As you can see there, it's just gone past. I mean, a football conversation that seems to have been 5 minutes. But it's a great honor for us to be able to have you on the show, Coach.
Thank you.
Really appreciate the time that you've taken as a nation, also just to say everything of the best.
It was a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's Coach Hugo Broos, my guest right here on #MSW. Thanks for all the voice notes. I know we couldn't get through all of them, but we got the gist of what it is that it's going to take for us to go to the World Cup and, perform the kind of miracles that we dream about. We're back again tomorrow. #MSW brought to you by Hollywood Bets.
The thrill, the drama, the action. Marawa Sports Worldwide on 947, Boom FM and Rise FM. Powered by Hollywood Bets.